You know how clients sometimes ask you to make their logo a bit bigger and you are like, no, it wouldn't look that nice. But when it's your logo, you can make it quite big. My logo is bigger than Volvo, so whatever. Andre's talk was amazing, but I have more brand equity on this stage, yeah? I'm from Studio Echt, and we try to do most complex projects we can. We are based in Bratislava, and we focus on strategy, brand, then also the digital brand experience, and we try to combine all those in one kind of outcome. So we specialize in not specializing. We don't want to have our kind of style of work. We want to provide the best service possible. This is how we see our role as a designers. And I will try to talk to you because most of the people here are designers on one quite important subject to me. And that is that I think that this is actually a red list of threatened species, and I believe that we as the designers are somewhere here. So we are threatened, and I believe that we might get extinct because we are slowly becoming kind of useless and irrelevant with the job that we are doing and with the work and with the outcomes of our work, and I will try to explain more. We stopped last year, but before that, for 10 years, we were organizing a similar conference like this. It was called By Design Conference. It was held in Bratislava. I was also hosting the event. And I just want to thank Vid and Victoria and everyone here. Please give them a huge round of applause because it's a huge amount of work to do this kind of conference. Invisible kind of work. And I love this concept because we had a similar idea. So we wanted to learn from the world's best designers, and we wanted someone else to pay for it. So I still believe that this concept is valid, and it's great. We had a lot of speakers like Jessica Walsh. You can see that I was hosting it. You can see this thing, right? So, but who could have blamed her? So we had a lot of interesting names from Stefan Zagmars, Eric Spickerman, Jessica Walsh, I mentioned, Brian Collins, amazing, Paul Asher, Kenya Hara, Marina Wheeler, Gay Bickler, Oliviero Toscani, rest in peace, Michael Wolf, Debbie Milman, Hartmut Messinger, also Lisa, that you will hear today. You should not miss her talk. It will be amazing, from Dunbar and Depth. But we did not have one designer I always wanted to have when we started the conference with our friends from Milk Design Studio. Can you guess who it is? Dieter Rams. Do you know him? Probably yes, right? From his amazing designs that are affecting everything also right now, from digital products. When you look at your iPhone UIs and calculator app on your iPhone, it just basically Dieter Rams's design, and also his furniture designs that are still on sale. So you can still purchase his designs after those decades when they have been designed. And the interesting thing about Dieter is that he didn't study design, he studied architecture, and I think it was called interior decoration. But the most interesting thing about it is that after 1 year of studying this at the university, he dropped off and he went to do carpentry apprenticeship for 1 year. So he was already studying, and he went to work with his own hands to understand materials, to understand processes, and to do all this before he started to actually doing design. So he understands the substance, he understands the process, he understands how things are being made, he understands materials, he understood the complexity of things before he started to design things. And now when we look at these objects, we are like, yeah, they are so nice and everything is, and they are nice, but there is something that happened before that. And that's the understanding of materials, of the processes, that I believe led him to actually do these kind of designs. And this is also, I think, one of the reasons why they look so nice, but the most important part of it is that they function very well. And he done this. And I don't think that we do these kind of things right now, that we go for 1 year to actually, study carpentry and do something with our own hands. I believe that quite often in our work, and I'm also talking to myself here, we already have solutions. We already know how things are being made, and you just heard it from Andre, how world is super complex, how this simple thing like button on the steering wheel, how complex every issue is. And if you want to understand it deeply and provide some meaningful solution and not become irrelevant or useless, you need to actually really dig deep to be able to understand it. And I believe that's what Dieter Rams did, and that is the reason why his designs are so amazing even right now, and how all the brands, like, look at new Xiaomi products and look at his designs. So basically that's you can feel the kind of same aesthetics decades after he designed these things. I'm from the northern part of Slovakia. I call it Scandinavia of Slovakia. You can feel like, you can feel how It's much cheaper than Scandinavia, so you should visit. It's called Orava, and we have these kind of wooden houses. You have similar ones in Czech Republic, in Slovakia, it's called Drevenica. In Czech Republic, it's called Roubenka, I believe, right? And when you check all the Airbnbs, now they call it chalet. Yeah, that's just the worst thing to do. The interesting thing is that these houses were built by craftsmen, usually without any kind of formal education. Super simple men, super poor men with simple tools, working only with things that they had around them, so basically with stones and with the wood, and actually with the crappy wood kind of. And when you look at these wooden houses, the Drevenice, they are so cute, they are so nice. And there is reason, because they had some systems behind it. There was special proportions behind how they build the houses. There are special angles of the roofs. And also you can see that there are different types of roofs based on where the house was built. Each village had different kind of snowfall. So everything has their own logic. And it was built by people without any kind of formal education, but people that actually understood the problem. And I believe they were really great designers. Even though they wouldn't see themselves as a designers, they were the best designers. And also other things, you can see the small windows and you're like, yeah, they're so cute and nicely designed. There was reason behind it. It was much easier to change small tile of glass than to change the big ones, and they were super poor, so they did not even have the big tiles of glass, so they only have the small ones. And yeah, it also looks nice, but everything had their kind of function. Also, you can see it here on the top of the houses. There are this kind of something that looks kind of ornamentally or some kind of just nice thing. But even these things had their own meaning. You can read more about it in a book by architect Igor Krpelan that analyzes it. For example, this one, it just looks like, okay, this is just nice to make it cool, so like this kind of design aspect to it. But for example, here in top of it, they kept the egg shelves from eggs that created noise when the wind blow. And it helped them to get rid of the birds. So the birds did not, spit all over their house. So each of the things had their own function, and they had this kind of motto: the decoration must never overshadow function, and the function was important. And of course, those things even looked nice, and they look nice even now. And it's similar to what Dieter Rams did, but function is more important, and the understanding of the problem you are trying to solve as a designer, not even thinking that you are a designer. That's the core aspect. That's the core element that actually brings the beauty. And in one of his latest interviews, he used this amazing term: the design is mushrooming. So we have design everywhere. We have so many types of designers. And the design has become a synonym for a backdrop, for beautiful appearance, for the stylish. And I fear we could lose our orientation at a point in time when orientation is needed as never before. And I think this is the problem, this is the issue, this is why we are becoming irrelevant, this is why we might become extinct, because this is what happened. And before Jesus was born, and even before that, design was happening. And a lot of design was happening. Also, first car designs, there were a lot of kind of design issues and design challenges that the mechanics and engineers that built the first cars or automobiles need to solve, but they didn't see themselves as designers. They were mechanics, they were engineers, they were inventors that were trying to solve design issues. And at the beginning of it, there was core understanding of the problem and their own experience with it. So there were no designers, but there were craftsmen, architects, builders, constructors, carpenters, engineers, mechanics, inventors. And then in 1900s, the word designer starting to pop up. Yeah. And then we have UX, senior brand, the interaction experience, consultant, design thinking coach, creative strategist, whatever, head of I don't know what. And my point is that, okay, I understand it. I still see myself as a designer. I believe that we are valid and we should be here. I try to explain how we can be maybe more useful. But we need to also get back to this, that we as the designers are also this. Like we heard in the first speech today, also like writing a book and creating a product, actually a useful book, that's a builder kind of thing. She wrote an amazing book that can help you. And I also think that she's a great designer and also kind of builder. You also heard how complex issues they are dealing with in Volvo. So you need to have also different kind of mindset. And I believe that we as a designers need to look at ourselves only as a designer and need to look more at ourselves on this side of the spectrum, that we are builders. We can do much more than just, changing colors and changing typefaces and making a logo bigger on screen. So if we don't want to become extinct, and I think we are really close to it because we are becoming irrelevant, we need to think more about how we can be more useful. So the 7 deadly sins of designers. First one is lying. I checked some of you that are in the audience, I checked your portfolios. I checked your logo explications. And I want you to know that we are all going to hell. Yeah, you know what you write there. Yeah, right. All that bullshit sentences and how you came up with this kind of big idea behind it. When we talk about lying, so I was lying also with the 7 deadly sins, so there only will be 5 deadly sins, yeah, because we are lying, and lying is first one of them, so there only will be 4 of them, yeah, because lying is the first one, so only 4 deadly sins. Let's go. Hiding behind language. You might feel that this is similar to lying, but I think it's different, because this doesn't necessarily mean that you are lying. I think just that you are hiding because you... when you don't know or don't understand the substance, when you don't have your own experience, you need to fake it. And I think the best way how to fake it, and that we all use sometimes, is to use this kind of crazy language that help us to feel more important. So I prepared this kind of bingo that you can use on your next meeting. Definitely this bingo is a future-proof solution if you want to avoid this kind of design-centric bullshit. This bingo will be like seamless journey. But I did, well, this is my favorite, transformational insight. Empathy map, atomic, you have to use more atomic in everywhere. Ownable brand assets, brand vehicles, yeah, user-centric approach, whatever. So I believe that we use this kind of language when we actually don't understand the problem. If you really understand the problem, you tend to use simple language because you want also others to understand you. As Andre mentioned, you need a lot of stakeholders to help you with what you are trying to achieve. And you need to use simple language so they will be able to understand you and not hide behind some crazy words that, of course, these words will help you, make bigger invoices. Yeah, so I understand it. But if you want to be useful and impactful, I think you need to use simple language. And I have one tip. What we do at my studio, we started to organize, but it was like 10 years ago, actually, a thing we called visits. So people can visit us at our studio once a month, and we present concepts and all the thinking behind the outcomes of our work. We also present unused concepts. We also present the harsh reality of actually delivering something. And the interesting thing is that, of course, there are some designers, but most of the people that visit us are not designers. They are from kind of client side. They are the builders. They are the engineers. And that teaches us what kind of language we can use. And also the things that we take for granted and we think that everyone will understand. When we are there and we are trying to explain it to them, we get this kind of reality check that, okay, maybe we should use different words, maybe we should use different kind of metaphors, so we can actually be able to explain what we are trying to achieve. Because if we want to change something, if we want to build something, we need more people to join us, and we need to use the language that will help us actually get on the same page with them. Third deadly sin, ignorance of business. You can change business for whatever else, because maybe some of you don't like business that much. I'm quite fan of business, but whatever, NGOs, whatever, the kind of essence of what you are trying to solve, or ignorance of the problem itself, because we quite often already have solution without finding enough time to understand the problem. 2 years ago, I was asked to lead a communication department at one of the biggest companies here in the region. They have 2 nuclear power plants and 30 hydrogen power plants, and I was supposed to lead their external and internal communication and CSR, while simultaneously running my studio with 25 people. So do you know how I decided? No problem. Of course, I can do both. This is how a nuclear reactor looks like after I came. Before that, it was all gray. So I put all the nice colors there, right? I think it looks nicer, right? This is what we as a designer should do. Of course not. So this is how actually nearly all of the nuclear reactors look like, and all the colors have their meaning, and super specific meaning, and it's super important how the design and how the typefaces and how the words and how the communication works in a company, in a nuclear facility, of course, because we all can die when there is some kind of mistake. And I think this is so. But if you want to understand it, and if you want to understand the complexity of things, you need to actually find enough time and watch and listen carefully, and not think that you as a designer have all the answers, or even you have at least one answer, because I believe me, you would get lost in this kind of thing. This is only small part of the power plant, and this is maybe size of a person here. So you know what was the first thing I've done when I came there? Of course, I changed the logo. No, I did not. Okay, yeah, I did it slightly, and there was like one really shitty typeface, so I changed the typeface. But other than that, I believe that our role as a designer can be much more. We can do more. And in that company, for example, 2,000 people, there are 5,000 employees, and 2,000 people went or retired. So there were new 2,000 people, and the biggest effect you can have, I believe, still is with the culture. So I set my role to actually help them understand their culture, make their culture maybe a bit better, or work on their culture. And one of the vehicles that should help them with the culture is this communication curves we designed. And again, I'm a designer, so of course we also designed the website and the logo and everything, but we also designed the curriculum of these communication curves and chose the lectures. And of course, there is only one that is really good. I don't know if you've seen him in this right corner. Yeah, this one. So of course I'm there. But the point is that it's not easy to design a course for 5,000 employees. Most of them are welders and electricians, and they are not used to actually watch the kind of online courses, and the type of courses they need to take are usually boring and they hate it. So it is a tough job, and it's a communication course. So we are teaching 5,000 male engineers, mechanics, welders, and electricians empathetic listening. So it's a tough job, but I believe that this will have impact. And of course, even the slight change of the logo will have some impact, but this will have bigger impact. And I believe that this is also our role as a designers, that we can do this kind of thing, these kind of things with our kind of design thinking and with the way how we understand problems. And I think, and I believe, and I know that this will have a huge effect on that company, even though I'm not there anymore leading the department. I'm still helping them with some things. Number 4, comfort over courage. So since I started designing, it was when I was 15 years old, so it was, I think, 20 years ago, I was always making quite a lot of money. And I think that was that era where we actually knew how to, push that pixels in Photoshop, and before that in Corel Draw, and these kind of crazy tools. And I believe that we got spoiled. Most of us are really, just to be honest to ourselves, quite useless right now. So there is someone right now doing a heart surgery, yeah, or building this building. You understand the complexity of the things connected to building this kind of thing, and then we are there doing these kind of small things. And I believe that we can do much more, that we can do bigger things. Also, with the design thinking in mind, us still being designers. But I think we need to change our mindset, because we can change this world. We just need to stop thinking in small. And I believe we got spoiled. And right now we have, I believe, quite low impact with the AI actually doing a lot of things right now. And also you can see it with the salaries. Probably if we have some UX designers here, you can feel it that for years UX was the one where you just sat there, done a couple of clicks and charge them a lot. And this is changing. And that's the thing when I talk about extinction, that I believe that we need to change our way of thinking and get back to being kind of builders, get back to doing more complex things. We just launched, I think it was 3 weeks ago, probably the most kind of premium real estate project in Bratislava. And we also did the strategy and the name and the visual identity and the video and the website. And it is called Q, so just one letter. And it was not easy, of course, to convince them that this is the right thing to do. And it was not like, okay, this is Q and that's it. We presented them with 40 other names, and also with a reasoning why the Q will work best on this market in Bratislava right now. And I still believe that it will work best. And also we explored 50 iterations of how the Q can look like. And I think this is one of the aspects of how we can still have more courage than comfort, and how to talk with clients so they see what is our value, how to stand behind something you really believe. Because of course, some other names of the project would be kind of easier to sell to them because it would be more kind of generic. This is a bold decision, and there is someone on the other side that is afraid of being fired, because to do bold decision, you need to actually have kind of courage, and you need to help them with the right language, with the understanding of business, and then I think it will also help you to actually design and do nicer things that are bolder. And I also on these conferences we see a lot of case studies from, I know, New York and from the States, and but you know what kind of clients you have. So this is not the situation that you are working for Nike, right? We are working for, most of us, for local clients. So it's much tougher to actually convince them to do something bold, because we all go get inspired at these conferences, but our clients are usually quite different than what we see here. So this is a real estate developer in Bratislava, and I'm super thankful to them that they actually agreed to do this kind of brand, and I believe it will work very well. This is the first video spot that we've done with CGI and AI and actually real footage, and with no cap production. And for example, the interesting thing was how to explain to the client that AI doesn't mean that it's cheap. AI doesn't mean that it's easier to make. AI doesn't mean that you can make it. That's really like a lot of work, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it costs like, you know, €2. So it was also an interesting experience, for example, how to charge projects that include AI, and how to explain to the client, again, with the truthful but simple words, that, okay, it's not that simple and easy as you might have think. 5, last but not least, disconnection. I think this is what happened. So before, there was some kind of your experience, so you lived through it. So while designing cars, there is this kind of famous designer from Austria, but doing or working in Czech Republic, called Ledvinka, doing the amazing, you know, designs for cars that then Porsche got inspired. And so, for example, how he designed the cars, so it was actually his experience. So he went through it, he tested all those things. I think he got also his teeth, you know, he broke his teeth while testing the car or something. So there was his experience, and this was the way how he designed the solution. And I think right now we have all those layers, and you can change the words for whatever kind of roles you have at your company, but there is this kind of problem. Your experience is so far away from the problem, and you are so spoiled, or we are so spoiled, because this presentation, I also tell it to myself, because I'm the same. So we've been making quite a lot of money for some time. So we see that, okay, we understand how to deal with it. We already have the solutions without actually understanding the problem or experiencing the problem or listening to the audience. Or as Andre mentioned, also, we have this kind of tests that are real tests, and then we have tests just to prove what we already, you know, think. So I believe we need to get back to that, to actually live through the experience, and then we are able to actually design something that will be a real solution. That's the way how we won't become irrelevant. That's the way how we will survive it. That's the way how we will be, again, useful. And the reason why I'm now one more thing, like 5 things I try to keep in mind while working on my studio after 10 years we've been doing it. So first of all, kill the jargon. So don't use fancy words. Try to have it as simple as possible, because if we will use simple language, I think more people will join us, more people will be able to understand what we are doing, and more people will understand the value we as a designers bring to the table. But it's super connected to the language. And I know that you might feel more fancier with fancy words, but this will actually help others to understand our value. That's the only way how we can survive this. Second, learn one business metric. Or doesn't necessarily be business metric, your NGO metric, whatever, but understand what are these kind of important metrics in what you are trying to solve, and really empathetically try to understand it, not just like pro forma understanding, but really understanding it. Quarterly, you can learn one business metric, so you will be able to then, you know, discuss it with your client, that, okay, this is what we need to do, and you will have the power to discuss it with them, because you will use simple words and you will understand their business perspective, and you will be able to argument with them and convince them that, okay, maybe one character word as a name for a real estate project is a good idea. And then with the tech and AI, I believe that it can help us actually get back to that part on the left side that you've seen before, the builders, the, you know, inventors, and even carpenters. So I believe with the AI, of course, when you will code something and do prototype on your own on Lovable or whatever, it won't be great. And of course, you will need engineers to help you with that. But I believe that experience that you build something on your own, similarly to what Dieter Rams did when he went to study carpentry, I think that experience is super valuable. So I think we need to play with these tools to be able to do things that were impossible for us 5 years ago or 7 years ago or 10 years ago. Right now we can play with it and we can build something on our own. And again, AI will speed some things up for us. I believe that that can help us to actually do harder things, tougher things, solve tougher problems, not just speed up how we can generate 5,000 buttons or 5,000 banners. And with the spare time we have, and it was already mentioned here before the speakers before me, and I'm super happy how it all fits together, that we can then observe without judgment. And I think this will give us power to actually understand, to get this kind of insight, to have our own experience with it, but it has to be without judgment, because also we as designers, we tend to be quite judgmental in some cases. So I encourage you to build something on your own, use the AI tools there, because I think it will give you amazing experience, and then observe without judgment how people are using it. I think this kind of experience is the same that Dieter Rams did. It's the same that all those old craftsmen building wooden houses in Orava, Scandinavia of Slovakia, did before. So I really want you to know, and I want myself to know, that we can do much more than we think we can do. And I know it sounds super motivational, but it is. I even wrote a book, kind of semi-motivational. You can buy it in Brod bookstore downstairs, so yeah, you should buy it. But I really believe it, and I believe that's the only way how we will survive it, to do more complex things, to understand more complex problems. And the word designer is quite new, so let's forget it for a while. Let's forget that you were a designer or you identify as a designer. You are maybe a mechanic that understands beauty. You are maybe a carpenter that understands beauty. You are maybe an inventor who understands beauty. It doesn't matter. My point is that we can do much more if we will change our way of thinking. We can run companies, we can build companies, we can change the world, we can write books, we can publish movies, whatever, and you can still have this kind of design mindset. But I believe that that's the only way how we can survive it, to do more complex things. And I believe that our voice should be heard, and I believe that there should be more designers running countries, running cities, building companies, leading companies, and that you can be a CEO and you can be whatever you want with your design mindset. I believe that this world actually needs more designers in these kind of roles. Thank you very much.
So, out of all the sins you've mentioned, which one is the worst? Which one would you drop first?
I don't think that we understand the business. I don't think we understand the value we bring, because we are so far away from it. So it might sound obvious, but I'm designer, but I also see myself as this kind of business person. I have a restaurant that I run. I have a hiking club. I have a design studio. And when you look at it from a business perspective, all those things are so complex and like extremely complicated that if you don't find enough time to understand it and to understand the issues that are there and to challenges that are there, I don't think that you can be really valuable. And that said, I still believe that kind of design thinking approach and design way of solving things and design way of finding different kind of ways how to solve problem is super important for this world. But we just need to step back and try to kind of understand what are the goals, what is happening there. That's also with the conference. So people just might sit there and okay, just book a speakers and that's it. It's so complex to organize a conference on this level that you are doing it, that still, if you want to be helpful, you need to find time to try to understand all the complexity behind it. Whether it's Volvo, whether it's Brno Bold, whether it's Bistro in Bratislava on Štefanikova 24, open from Wednesday till Sunday, okay?
Yeah, perfect. Thinking of craftsmen and builders and carpenters, they usually were specialists in one thing. And I feel like today designers are required to be specialists in many things. In every project, it's different. So how to become a specialist in a field that I'm not familiar with, quickly?
I believe that still, both. So you will have specialists, you will have generalists. I believe that this era is I think, more I don't know, endorsing generalists right now, but still I think specialists will be here. And I don't think that you need to know and understand everything or be good at everything. That's the way how I want to phrase it. I don't think you need to be good at everything, but I think you need to be curious about everything. That's how I would phrase it. So yeah, of course I'm not the best typographer, but for example, I'm giving feedback to typographers, helping us with the queue or whatever, and you need to be able to understand the process behind it. You need to be able to listen to them carefully while they are explaining that to you. And that doesn't mean I will be the best typographer, but I think I need to have this kind of curiosity and a humbleness that I am there to actually listen to them. So, and I also think that, for example, those people actually doing those wooden houses, for example, I think they were quite generalists back then. So they were doing a lot of things. Also, Dieter Ramsau, so why he would do the kind of thing that where you go and do it with your own hands, he doesn't need to do that. And maybe he didn't even use it after when he was, a well-known designer. But still, that experience is super valuable.
Okay. What business metrics have you used for the queue for a brand? How did you convince the client to accept that?
We show them the situation in Bratislava real estate market, where it's overcrowded with super fancy and super premium real estate projects. Everyone is trying to be and sound super kind of luxurious. We, as a studio of design, I think so we got 3 briefs that, okay, this is the most expensive project in Bratislava. And next month we got another brief. Okay, this is the most expensive project in Bratislava. So we told them that the only way how this can stood up or how this can be anyhow interesting in Bratislava market right now is to go the completely opposite direction that everyone else is doing. And that was this. So we wanted to be quieter, we wanted to be calmer, we wanted to present the whole brand as this kind of luxurious fashion brand and not a real estate brand. And also, for example, in that video that we done for them, we show the project only, I think, at the last 2 or 3 seconds. Through the whole video, you don't see any kind of, how the project looks like. So the whole idea was it to go completely opposite direction. And with the name, it was all about that everything that is kind of instant has no value. And people, so how to create this kind of value and tension and this kind of, that something is interesting, because you won't say everything and you will just keep the, what does Q mean? I can tell you 50 explanations, but I won't. So it's Q, and it's interesting because there is something that everyone like thinks in their mind, and I don't need to even answer that question.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Jakub Ptačin. Thank you.